The first trailer for Denis Villeneuve's Dune Part 2 was released online last week, and one of the questions that I and many others have been asking or thinking about is why are some of the Feyd Rautha and Harkonnen scenes presented in black and white? In this video, I'm going to be discussing just that and breaking down what we can expect to see from those sequences. There will be spoilers from the book in this breakdown, so if you haven't read Frank Herbert's novel yet, or you don't want to know some of the details from the back part of the story, then I would recommend watching this at a later time. Before I get into it though, if you want to keep up to date on any of my content surrounding Dune Part 2 and beyond, then don't forget to support this upload by giving it a like rating, subscribing to the channel, and turning on your notifications. But without further ado, let's dive into the black and white Feyd Rautha scenes in Dune Part 2. So fans have waited a long time to see what Austin Butler's Feyd Rautha would look like, and the trailer that was released last week gave us our first look at the nephew of Baron Harkonnen and brother of Rabban. His appearance is different from that of the book, and Denis has clearly tried to fit him in line with the other Harkonnen characters, sporting a bold appearance, having a physical presence like his brother, and having the charisma and intelligence which we know the Baron takes a large interest in. Frank Herbert's description of the character read as a round-faced teenager with dark hair, and what we got in the trailer was definitely a departure from what we saw in David Lynch's Dune with Sting's portrayal of the character. Dune Part 2 has transformed Austin Butler with a bald head and a completely white complexion, and it's possible that the Harkonnen homeworld, Giedi Prime, is a key facet for this particular look. But while the new appearance of Feyd is interesting, the footage itself is also showcased in mainly black and white, leading to many debates surrounding why the footage is being shown in this format. Is it a stylistic choice? Is it a flashback? Or is it the actual look of the scenes on Giedi Prime? Before we can understand why Denis has chosen to take this approach, let's first talk about what takes place during those scenes on the Harkonnen homeworld. So starting with what we saw in the trailer, we got a shot of Feyd Rautha entering the gladiator-esque fighting pits where he's in full Harkonnen armour, and we get further looks at him fighting with and yelling at the bold contestant that he faces. This is where we first meet the character in the book, where he wields his famous dual knives and shows off his fierce abilities and charisma for many in the audience to see. Among those watching in the arena is Leia Sedu's Margot Femring, who appears later in the trailer during an intimate moment with Butler's Feyd, and their romantic relationship stems from the plans of the Bene Gesserit, where Margot is known to seduce and have a child with him. This all comes from the thought that Paul Atreides might be dead, and the Kwisatz Haderach ideal may have to pass on to another child. So essentially, because Lady Jessica defied the Bene Gesserit sisterhood by producing a son, it was a kickstart for the high tension between both Feyd and Paul as the heirs of their houses, which were famously opposed. With the potential for one or both of them being killed in battle, it would destroy years and years of genetic engineering, so in turn the sisterhood sent Lady Femring to seduce Feyd and have a child with him. The hope was that they would save that developed genetic material. So Denis is clearly not skipping the Harkonnen scenes this time around and the plot developments that were missed in part 1, and it seems like he's showing a lot of those moments on Giedi Prime to act as a darker twist on all the stuff happening with Paul. It will of course culminate in Paul and Feyd's crysknife battle, so hopefully in the build up to that, the film will really develop these new characters and showcase their importance as known from the source material. During the fighting pit scenes in the book, we get a sense of the brutality yet intellect of Feyd's character, and we also learn about how the Baron favours him to be the worthy heir over Raban. And while many of the scenes in this trailer that include Feyd and that shot of Raban bowing to the Baron on their homeworld appear to be in the past, they bring that intrigue surrounding all the Harkonnen characters when it comes to them being that more violent reflection of the Atreides. So by showing the brutality of that and also detailing the Harkonnen plan, the world of Denis Villeneuve's Dune will start to become a more revealing tale through all of the developing plot points and angles to the different houses. And we'll see this culminate in the Battle of Arrakis that I'm sure many of us are highly anticipating. So now that we've detailed what we're likely to see on Giedi Prime in Dune Part 2, why has Denis Villeneuve chosen to present the scenes there in black and white? Some are saying that this is because the scenes taking place are mostly associated to being flashbacks surrounding that of Feyd and the Harkonnens on their homeworlds, and others are saying that this is a stylistic tool that resembles how Denis Villeneuve has previously used the format in his films, portraying extreme violence through monochrome imagery. Now, I do think that there's a chance for both of these options to come true, and I do also think that there's a bit of both of these in the actual meaning of using black and white, but the main theory that I think leans more towards the actual truth is something connected to the planet itself. The Harkonnen homeworld of Giedi Prime is a heavily industrialized planet full of smog and pollution, and I think we're seeing what the planet actually looks like down below when the sun is out. On Earth, we see colour as everything outdoors reflects the sunlight, but colours indoors are affected depending on what's in the room. And because Giedi Prime's sunlight is affected by so much pollution, I think Denis is presenting it in this bleached out way to really convey the alien quality, but also the savagery of the planet. So yes, it's still part stylistic and it takes place in the past, but the reality is that this is actually what the planet looks like during daytime. We only saw Giedi Prime at night in the first film, and the reason why I'm leaning more towards the sunlight theory is because in one of the black and white huge shots of Raban, you can clearly see that there is an ounce of colour on his face. This of course depends on what's around him and what the light is bouncing off, but I think it really demonstrates that the approach is to do with the pollution on the planet. Denis wants to showcase the reverse nature of Giedi Prime in comparison to Arrakis or even Caladan for instance, and by using the pollution and white tones in the images, you really see a stark difference to those other planets. Who knows, in the gladiator pits we might see blood appear with a hint of red or other colours pop out in those scenes, but I think that it will all be down to the effect of lighting and sun on their planet, and in turn it's a big reason for why their skin tone is so pale. So that's why I think the footage is presented in black and white, and in my honest opinion I think it really fits in line with the more realistic edge that Villeneuve has gone for with his Dune films, both through the filmmaking but also with the naturalistic detail that he's adopted from Herbert's novel. Yes, the black and white helps to really convey the terrifying nature of the Harkonnens and make us feel like we're watching something from the past, but giving the planet that sense of death and having no colour through the sunlight really touches on all the themes we know the Harkonnens for. We'll have to see if this turns out to be the case, but the small drop of colour in that shot of Raban does make me lean more towards the black and white being the actual reality of Giedi Prime. But that was my video discussing the black and white scenes from the new official trailer for Dune Part 2. It's going to be interesting to see how Denis Villeneuve visually adapts and conveys the second half of Frank Herbert's novel, and from the early indications, whether it be the black and white shots or even the more stylistic orange-hued visions, it looks like he's bringing all of the flair that we would expect from the director. From a visual and cinematography standpoint, Part 1 was a technical behemoth, and I can only imagine that Part 2 will aim to top that with all of the new footage. And having this to support even more Harkonnen action is a blessing for all of us fans of the material. But if you've seen the trailer for Dune Part 2, let me know down below in the comment section what you think towards the black and white sequences featuring Feyd Rautha and the Harkonnens on Giedi Prime, alongside whether it gets you even more excited for what's in store. For much more videos and news on Denis Villeneuve's Dune universe, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like, rating, and follow me on social media via the links in the description. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.